Okay, I'm going to tell you another good one. Another good deer hunt story, good memory. And I got some great video of it. As this plane's flying right over top of me, of course, background sound. But anyway, this was a handful of years ago. And I had this trail. Same thing, I was trying to figure out where all these deer are coming from over the years, and I'm following them up. You know, I went, I think 30 miles in total until I finally figured it out. It took me a long time to figure all this out, right? And I went up to the head of this valley, following this trail, following big, huge prints. And then I had one of my very first trail cameras, and I left it on this trail. And then sure enough, I went and checked it, and the day after the season closed, I got this buck on the camera. I'm like, oh my God, that thing is absolutely huge. And I'm like, okay, it's on. I'm gonna obsess about that deer, which obviously I've done that a few times. So that spring, I went in the direction he was migrating out, and I started at the first mountain that I could see going in that direction. I was gonna go each mountain all the way down that valley and try to find that wintering shelves, if I could, and possibly find one of those antlers. And lo and behold, I didn't find the antler in the springtime, but I did find it in the fall when I was bow hunting. And I have video of it right here. I'll show you that antler. It was absolutely, I'm like, no way. It was like finding a six-leaf clover. You know, it's like, yes, this is so cool. And so now the obsession's kicked in. There's nothing you can do to stop me from thinking about that huge buck, right? So here I am, and my 2 tags are golden. I don't want to lose one. And it may have been, oh no, I know what year. I shot another 5-point. Shot a 5-point. Work was really screwing me up. Work was killing me. All the jobs, the contracts I had in Whistler were going way too long. The builders weren't on time as usual. And my November is narrowing down. Usually I hope to get all November for myself. And now it's looking like I might get 2 weeks. It's sucking. So, and I'm not getting any time in to go chase after that huge buck. So I finally get off work. I went up to this one particular mountain, and same thing. I'm in a big blizzard like this, and I come up over the hill, and I was starting to feel a little insecure, like I wasn't going to get any meat in the freezer that year. And I didn't go guiding that year either, I don't think. And usually you come home with moose or elk from guiding, right? And you don't have to worry about it. And so I climbed up these cliffs, and here's this 4-point, whatever it was. I shot him, packed him off the mountain. I got 1 tag left, right? And I think it was like second or third year, some local guys here where I live, they started a big buck contest, and everybody throws in $100. I think the pot's like $3,500 or $4,000 or something now. Which I'm not motivated by this contest. Like I've got my own goal, and I don't need to be interrupted by anything. I don't want to have to watch my watch or be somewhere, have to leave the woods, or worry about anything. So I'm not that enthusiastic about going on these deer derbies, right? But so I did go in. We did win the first one though. But anyway, it's another story. So I have 1 tag left, and I'm gonna go try to find that great big Mac Daddy buck, who I had on my trail camera 1 time only, and I found his antler. So it was another full-on blizzard. The conditions were absolutely beautiful. It was the last week of November, and I was hunting in like knee-deep to thigh-deep snow. And I'm going up, straight up the mountain where I found his antler. And I'm going up there, and it was a Thursday. I took off, it was blizzard, took work off, went on Thursday, and I got up on top of this mountain from the thick stuff. I'm slinking around, and here's this monster footprint with 3 does, and you can see where he's dogging him, running around and chasing him in the thick stuff, and he's rubbing like crazy. See, because when these big bucks are with the doe and the does aren't giving it up, they're just like frustrated, and that's when they really start rubbing. When you start to see rubs all over the place and there's the tracks, that's a big mature buck with the does, and he's with her and he's not leaving. So while he's with her and waiting her out, he's just frustrated and he starts killing all the trees, right? So there's rubs everywhere. I can tell by the sign he's right here. And then now I can smell him. I can smell him. And I just couldn't get my eyes on him. It's so thick. I just couldn't get my eyes on him. And it's really frustrating. And then the wind started swirling. I'm like, and I'm tipping my can call. It's not doing anything. And I'm like, okay, fine. He can hear me without a doubt. And it's not working. He knows it's me. I got to get out of here. And that's what I always do. If I know I'm I've spooked a monster buck and fixed up and he's with a doe, I got no problems leaving because he will be here. It's when you push it and you keep going, once you realize you spooked him a little bit, then they know you're after him, period. And he'll be like, I'm out of here. And you're done for, right? So I left. Went home, regrouped, went back again in the morning, and now it's a full-on clear that stopped snowing. You got fresh, it barfed snow. It was like this deep, fresh. The sun's coming up. It's all fluffy. It's quiet. It's not crusty and frozen. And off I go straight up into that same patch. And I get in there. I got to show you what I did. This is ridiculous. You know, it doesn't matter how many years you hunt, how many animals you bag, you still screw up. You still screw up. You know, and I'll show you what I did. So I'm going straight up the mountain. I get in the fresh tracks. And sure enough, here's great big monster tracks dragging his feet, and he's going straight up this cliff. And I'm looking at this track going straight up. I'm like, are you kidding me? These things are psychopaths where they're going. Like, this is like, you know, not that safe for me or a human being to go up there. So I'm going up that steep cliff with one little draw, and it's like full rock bluffs here, rock bluffs there, and a little rock shelf about 40 yards up on the left. And I'm looking up, and all of a sudden, here's a pretty big 3-point. And he's way up ahead of the trail, going, marching, boom, 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 straight up away from me into the timber on the top of this open rock face. And I'm looking at him like, okay, well, that's not him. That's not what I'm after. And of course, you're visualizing that great big Mac Daddy buck. It's like, he's here. And the day before, I hadn't seen this buck. All I'm going by is the monster footprints. It's on the same hill. It's at the head of that trail. I got a picture of him. His antler I found is like 300 yards that way. You don't need much more to put in your brain that that's him, you know, and you don't want to screw up. You're doing everything right, you think. So anyway, I go up that trail, saw the 3-point. He heads off, walking away. I tried the can. I tipped the can. He just stopped, barely even looked. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, okay, shit. That must be him, right? That must have been the buck that I'm tracking. That's not the buck I'm after. So I get up onto that. There's a little shelf just to the left of this steep cut. And I'm in trees, big fir trees like this. And I get up on the shelf and I turn around. I'm just kind of admiring the view, and you know, the wind's kind of taking out of my sails a little bit. And it's exactly what I did. So I got my bow though, right? So I take my bow, I lay it down, and I take my pack off, and I'm facing downhill. Facing downhill like this. I get my antlers, my rattling antlers out. And I'm like, well, who knows? It's crisp. It's cold out. We always throw a Hail Mary and see what's up. So I throw this just like it's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not even being cautious. It's down there. And I look downhill. I'm looking around, and up behind me is where that 3-point went. Not too aggressive. Just like that. Throw my antlers down, and my bow's in the snow. My sights are full of snow. Then I unzip my backpack, and I get my bottle of water, and I'm literally standing here taking a drink of water. Like, what a ding-dong, right? You just rattled your antlers. Get ready, you stupid ass. And I'm standing there, got a bottle of water, just like this, and standing there, and I see something moving straight down below me. I look down. And here is this monster, old, reverted, absolutely gigantic buck. And he comes up, he's coming straight at me. I'm like, oh my God. And my bow's right there on the ground, right? And he looks at me, he's looking up, and he's looking uphill, he looks at me, and he looks past me. He's looking around, and he keeps marching straight up the trail. You've got to be kidding me.
Here's the trail that came up right on top of my feet after I rattled. He probably came up 2 minutes after I rattled.
He's only about 40 yards from me, and the trail's going to come up on the side. So I bend down, I get my bow, and I'm blowing the snow out of my pins, and he's just marching right up here, right beside me. I don't know if you can see that Christmas tree right there, but he was about 10 yards from me. and his head went behind a big fir tree, and I pulled the bow back, and I held on him, and he comes up and he stands broadside to me. If you guys are me, he's standing here looking straight up the trail, trying to see where these two bucks are fighting, as he's looking at this idiot standing there in his camouflage. Whatever, where's these two bucks fighting in my yard? And I didn't even think twice about it. I'm like, what an epic freaking experience, and a huge buck. Got one tag left, and I thumped him.
Stood right here. Leapt over there. One jump went, oh my God, he must have jumped 10, 12 feet. There's a couple of speckles of blood there. Here we go.
At about 12 yards, he took a great big leap, huge long leap. I took off into the thick stuff. I'm just down there like, are you kidding me? Did that just happen? And I waited probably about 20 minutes. I mean, there's no question about it, he's dead. And then I went down there and...
There's my arrow. Oh, that's a good sign. Broke off. Beautiful. Probably behind the shoulder.
I tracked him down the mountain, and he went in his thick stuff and pulled him out. And I actually videotaped tracking him with my video camera. Pulled it out, and I videotaped the entire thing from the second I shot. And then I videotaped tracking him in the snow and walking up to him and pulling him out.
That is a beauty. That is an old buck. Holy shit.
And that was pretty freaking exciting. And again, that buck was absolutely ginormous. You can see the photograph here of the videos. I'll share them with you. That buck was just an absolute beast. You know, his horns had totally reverted. They're real thick and wide. And his body was just a tank of a buck. And I was so happy. And then it's funny, he demolished the buck that won the buck derby that year, and it was the Friday that I shot him. And it's Friday when everybody goes to this guy's place and everybody has beers and signs in for the contest. And I brought him straight there and showed everybody. And they're like, "What, are you stupid?" You know, because I just cut my tag on a monster the day before the buck derby started. But whatever, is what it is. And yeah, there you go. I mean, if I was about winning some contest for a buck, I could have just left him there in the snow, went and signed in, and then went and got him in the morning and cheated. Right? And that's twice. That's twice I had that happen. Because then I maybe in the next year, I'll tell you this one while I got you here right now, because it's on the same slope again, right up here. And I don't know, it might have been, this is a few years ago. They got that big buck derbies on again. I got one tag left, and it's Friday again, and it's snowing again. And I'm hunting this mountain looking for another big ripper buck, right? And I'm coming up the same ridge right here, same ridge. Yeah, circled around to a big opening on the left, looked way up on this bluff, and I just caught a mature doe way up there. Just went across this one opening. And that's all I need. I'm like, boom, there we go. So I kept an eyeball of the patch of timber she probably was going in up there. And I started slowly working my way right where I'm standing. Slowly working way up through the timber. And hopefully I still got these pictures somewhere, because I had my phone on me. I had a video camera in my backpack, I had my phone. Because I'm coming up the slope and I look up and all of a sudden I see a deer laying down on the slope above me, about 200 yards. I'm looking at, and there's another one farther up and another one laying there. So there's two mature does and a small 2 points laying there below. And I'm looking up at them like this, and you know, from where I'm looking, they can probably only see from here up on me, not my body. I'm looking up there, I'm looking up. I'm looking at that buck, I'm like, there's no way that little buck is with those two mature does. They don't belong to him. So I just stood there. And I stood there. And I stood here waiting. And I'm already leaning against a tree, waiting. And I'm standing there. And all of a sudden, one of the does stood up. And she's looking straight down my direction. And then she looked off to the right. And then the other deer looked off to the right. Their right, which is my left. So I'm like, oh. And that's your cue to get the gun up, right? Something's coming. So I got the scope up, and I'm leaning against the tree, waiting. And then all of a sudden, oh, the small 2-point got up and he walked out of sight. And then farther up the slope, about 20 or 30 yards farther up, another one steps out. And I'm like, oh, there, well, that's not that little 2-point. And here's another one. Chris, this great big tank of a buck walks out and he's walking away. And I made a noise and he kind of looked at me. And I took pictures. Get pictures from my camera, those deer laying there. Well, I was standing waiting. And then I thumped him. And that thing was another one. His body wasn't as tankish as the previous 2 bucks I've been mentioning, but he was just a big, old, gnarly buck. And I had him on trail camera once the year before, but I didn't realize it until later on. And I looked at it. I looked at this clip right here. I'm like, holy cow, that's him. That's that same buck. And that was another great big old cranker reaver buck. And he was bigger than the buck that won the contest again. And it was the Friday that everybody goes and meets up and throws down $100 and signs up the contest. And again, I brought that buck in and showed everybody. And everybody's teasing the snot out of me for shooting this great big huge buck the day before the Derby, but whatever. Nothing could have made it better. Money, winning something doesn't make it better for me. It's just that experience of getting that absolute hammer of a buck in this big timber in the snow and one-on-one. And it's very, very exciting for me. And here's that buck right here. And I'll show you those pictures. I did take video of this buck too. I'll show some video and I'll share it up with you guys here. But anyway, so there you go. There is a couple of hunt stories, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm sure you all have a bunch of your own. And hopefully, telling this story brings back a bunch of memories of your own for yourself. And yeah, there you go. So what is it? It's November 12th right now. There is a big buck on this hill with a handful of does. Couldn't find it this morning. I circled around the top of this mountain, started dropping down, got on top of a couple does and videotaped them, and then they slowly went off around the face. I knew they were going to bed, so I went and snuck up above them, and I got on the shelf, looking straight down on the shelf where I know they hang out in bed and big bucks will come through there. And I'm sitting there, I break open my backpack, break open the coffee, got a couple cookies, my rattle antlers. I'm sitting there just this morning, and I start rattling the antlers. And I'm sitting there having coffee. I wait another half an hour, rattle the antlers. I wait another half hour. I was probably there for a couple hours. And then I just picked up my stuff, put it all in the backpack, got up, and I walked 10 yards to my left. And there was 7 does all together. I didn't see all of them. All I saw was heads looking at me, bodies getting up, and a buck, nice buck. I don't know what he was. And they all got up and took off. And I'm like, are you kidding me? There was 8 deer, 7 or 8 deer, 45 yards from me this whole time, laying there on the knob with the view as it lightly snowed, listening to me rattle the antlers, and he didn't even come walking over, didn't even care. So that was my highlight of the day today. But I left some cameras up there, so hopefully I'll get a video of him and see who he is in here in the next few days. So that's it. That's all I got right now. If you're out there hunting, I wish you all the luck possible, and to be safe, and make sure you take somebody out and show them how to hunt, and keep this healthy lifestyle going.